fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what? iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of outlaw.
The Temple of Speed, a place of high acceleration, top end monstrousness, and then the heavy braking zones that do follow. A staple of racing for many a year. And here on iRacing, here on SimSpeed TV, the iRacing Grand Prix Series is into the clutch moments. Every point becomes vital. The drop rounds are in full effect, and you are watching this live here on SimSpeed TV without any interruptions to go forward. I'm Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Cam Dance. And Cam, qualifying is currently underway at this moment in time. A lot to unpack here around this place on one of the greatest sim racing weekends of them all here on the 16th of May. It's all going down.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a massive weekend on iRacing at the moment. Obviously, you've got the Indy 500 currently going on, but also here at Monza for a 100% race, well, 100% distance, so full GP length. So really looking forward to and seeing what happens here at Monza.
Well, absolutely. We all are at the moment, and it is going to be a very interesting battle that we see develop here. Of course, it's a three-way fight in the championship right now. You got to talk about the two Sanfilippo brothers, one called Marco, one called Danilo, and of course there is that fight with one driver who is not here, mainly because of participation else and where, and that of course will be Mark Usher, who again will use one of his 4 drop rounds. That will be the second one now that he has used if he does decide to come back and finish off the championship. Now it becomes point upon point upon point. Who is going to put themselves at the highest level now with qualifying underway? 2 laps, which are going to be crucial to get right, especially around this place where one small mistake is exacerbated to the nth degree.
Yeah, absolutely is, especially around here where you've got no real room for error with grass either side on all the corners, including AstroTurf, possibly gravel as well. It's really, really difficult. And then obviously you've got the fact that you're running low downforce as well. So the amount of grip you're going to have is actually not as high as you normally would have had, say, last week at Catalonia. So it's really going to be very tricky for a lot of the drivers. It's going to come down to a bit of fuel saving, a bit of tyre saving as well to try and keep that pit stop as quick as you possibly can. But at the end of the day, we just got to watch and see what happens.
Exactly, and a lot of drivers here today will be looking to try and prove what they've got in the tank, so to speak. It's a long race. There's a lot to unfurl. The first time's coming in, and it is the number 1, Danilo Sanfilippo, on top, 123.2. And at this moment in time, I'd like to congratulate Brandon Treno on winning the iRacing Indianapolis 500 overall in terms of the racing on a green-white checker run. But Marco Sanfilippo goes to the top of the timing stands, 123.242, 16,000, says he's clear at the moment, but there are other drivers who could set big lap times around this place. Reynaldo Augusto is no stranger to these sorts of races. He's raced about a year ago and absolutely dominated around here. You've got the likes of Chris Owen, though. Remember, he's still got a round in the drops to go with at this point, and effectively a non-point scoring finish. Chris Owens needing to drive perfect races from now to the end. Reynaldo Augusto, fastest by 6 thousandths.
Yeah, 6 thousandths is not a lot of time, but around here, it's quite a decent margin considering you're pretty much flat out for the majority of the lap. So that's going to be a bit of time that Marco is going to try to have to find, as well as Danilo, who's just about to cross the line. He's going to come across the line and does go quicker just
1:23.1. Ben Fuller up to second, 1:23.161. Exactly what is wanted. Marco Sanfilippo, championship leader, down in 4th position. This may have to be a drop round here today if it doesn't work. Chantal up to 6th. Chris Owen up to 5th place, but has another lap in the bank available. It's now starting to look like the pointy end of it is going to be quite interesting. Stefan Piotrowski up to 11th position on a 24.1 at this moment in time. And there goes Marco Sanfilippo on his second lap, up to second, 16 thousandths behind his brother. It's a 1-2 once again.
Yeah, it certainly is a 1-2 again, once again, and we'll see what happens. If it's going to be a repeat of Catalonia or not, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, stomping their authority, the Sanfilippo brothers, and Augusto only managing 4th.
Only managing 4th, could not go quicker on his next lap. Here's Jacob Tvedeski coming over to the line. A 24 flat jumps him up to 11th position. Good lap time by his standards. We look further back, though, at those trying to finish lap times, and Chris Owen becomes the man to keep focus on at this moment in time. 2 minutes to go in this session and a little bit, and this is what's the key. You can start a lap, but you cannot finish it once the timer expires. So they know they have to get their laps in quick. They've done this many a time before. 8 minutes, 2 laps is standard for most races on the iRacing service. For qualifying, 1:23 flats, though. That is pole position for Chris Owen, and he needed that so very, very badly in terms of the laps. Una Hayala is going to make a run to the line in the number 20 car and jumped up to the 6th row in 11th, but Piotrowski immediately bumps him down there in 10th position overall. Thurlow climbs up into 12th place. 2 drivers on laps, 3 drivers on laps. Antonio Alvarez, Andreas Nielsen, and John Pat Kelly are those on laps. Rusty Kruger will not be able to set a representative flyer going around this place. So John Pat Kelly next here, Cam. What can he do to improve from 22nd?
Yeah, that is the big question. What is John Pat Kelly going to do in terms of a lap time here to improve from 22nd, as he's actually bailed on the lap, so he won't actually go quicker, but Nielsen coming through the final corner is not yet set a lap, and he won't again due to an off-track there.
Oh, and that was just a push too far from Andreas Nielsen, and like so many times before this season, he'll start from the back of the grid alongside the likes of a surprising name, car number 21, Alex Gillen, deciding to race this one. So it's nice to see Gillen in and around the mix as things look at the moment. Here's Antonio Alvarez, though. He will get over the line for his one and only opportunity at a lap, and it will be invalidated, so it will not count. This now will be how the grid will stack for the racing here at Monza today. A full 53 laps. Chris Owen on pole position, 123.064, 400ths clear of Danilo Sanfilippo in second position. Marco, his brother and championship leader, starts this one from third with Ben Fuller in fourth position. Reynaldo Augusto goes from fifth with Stefan Chantal in sixth. Rafael Mata starting this one in 7th with Clayton McLeod in 8th. And then following that, Jody Mills and Stefan Piotrowski.
On row 6, it's going to be Alex Ugia and Jaden Thurlow, followed by Una Harler and Jacob Swiderski on row 7. Row 8, Jose Serpa and Edu Villa. Row 9, Ray Griffio and Antonio Zagozga. And rounding out the top 20 on row 10, Bruno Canavas and David Cudmore.
And then following that, Esteves and Oliveira starts 21st, John Pat Kelly 22nd, and then the final 4 drivers will be ordered by iRacing. Andreas Nielsen, Alex Gillen, Antonio Alvarez, and Rusty Kruger. And of course, watching Alex Gillen's progress will be Matt Gallagher from WTF1. Keep an eye out on Alex Gillen's progress up through the field from 24th position on the grid. But 2 minutes to get themselves up, or they start from pit lane, and this is a long run to a very tight turn 1, turn 2. The Variante de Retofilio is always a tough place to get it going right. If someone gets it wrong on the brakes into that section, runs into the back of someone, a chain reaction can occur which can take out multiples of vehicles time and time again. This is going to be a tough race. This is going to be all about going incredibly quick. It's also going to be one of the shortest long races that we have. It may be 5.79 kilometers, but it goes incredibly quickly. It's got one of the highest average top speeds this circuit does, so a one stop is potentially possible here today. But the tyres, that's going to be the key. How will the tyres hold up for those who dare try to go on a one-stop strategy compared to the two-stop here at this one? Chris Owen then, up on the grid. Everybody looking to get themselves ready, looking around themselves, thinking, well, who's got what it takes? Because there's the green flag, and let's get ourselves going. And it's a slow start from Chris Owen, and immediately Danilo Sanfilippo's got the jump that he wants. Straight through at home territory, in towards the Retofilio. They're going to come along to the outside. Chris Owen's going to try on the... Marco's gone straight into the back of him as they both go straight on. Take the Hamilton line, the Rosberg line, through the chicane. They both weave on through. They'll both get massive slowdown penalties. Danilo Sanfilippo leads. Ben Fuller now up into second position and immediately challenging for the race lead. He goes along to the outside now, will have to be at the Variante della Roggia to get this done on the brakes. Ben Fuller has got himself the race lead.
Very, very good move there, and just managed to pull it off, parking it right in front of Danilo as well. So great move there by Fuller, but now he's got Clayton McLeod and also Chantal all over the back end of his car, does Sanfilippo. So currently not a good start for Marco and Chris Owen, but very good start for Ben Fuller and the likes of.
Exactly, and that was crucial. Get a good start and move on forward. Jaden Thurlow now starts to think of moves here. Up towards the Ascari chicane on Stefan Piotrowski. Not close enough. Piotrowski defended it every stage of the way. And then the run to the famous Parabolica Corner now starts to come into view. Now you start looking behind and seeing who's got damage, who's got issues out on track as they head through the various sections and go on through. Danilo Sanfilippo taking that big wide line coming out and going forward through. Wide there goes, I believe that was Thurlow trying to find a way through. Side by side they'll go, as well as behind Swiderski through on Hyula making that move. So one lap score complete. Fuller leads, second Danilo Sanfilippo, and side by side it is for second because down on the brakes tries Clayton McLeod. Here the Canadian getting it done. Up into second, another Canadian behind now looking Stefan Chantal.
Very good move by McLeod to get around the outside. Not the easiest thing to do at turn 1, but it's a big shunt to turn 1 by the looks of it, with a few cars involved. Jose Serpa, Edo Villa, a couple of others taking to the escape road by the looks of it. So it hasn't gone too well further back in the field, but McLeod with another great start. He's been going so well in the season so far, and he's just proving that he's a title contender for sure if things went his way.
Let's try and get ourselves then a replay brought to you by Motum Simulation on exactly what happened then here at the second lap of this race. You can see carnage already. It looks like 2 separate incidents. There's Jose Serpa, who is really high up in the championship. Outside shot now gone for any championship victory with that incident. You can see they're weaving in front, and we're taking a look at this right now. On the brakes, they are 3 wide into this section. Who's got it wrong then under the brakes? Answer is someone's gone straight on there. Didn't quite see who that was. It wasn't Edu Villa, it was the car in front of that, who I do believe did go straight on through that section. I think it was Estevez and Oliveira who got it wrong, potentially, but drivers all in a whole world of hurt then after the early stages of racing though, but they are still moving forward. Chris Owen looking for 4th position now, all of a sudden, with Marco Sanfilippo just behind. On the brake, Chantal slower there through the Rettifilio, but ultimately closing back up. You'll need to through this section. Lap 3 of 53 they are already in this race, and the packs are starting to form. All round in the background though, David Cudmore has just managed to avoid Antonio Alvarez there, Cam.
Yeah, he certainly has, and really, really close there for Cudmore. It could have ended so badly, but it just did enough to avoid him. Had to go through the chicane, but Sanfilippo is back on through by the looks of it.
No, it's Marco who's run into issues here, going through the chicane. The Della Roggia gets a big power of oversteer and a big issue there as he goes through. What's also worth noting is Clayton McLeod's lost the position to brother Danilo, so both Sanfilippos getting moves done at exactly the same time. Clayton McLeod having exactly the same issue, which is power application, these Williams Toyota FW31s. They're so difficult to control on that noisy pedal here. Track temp's 42 degrees, that should be helping that sort of thing, but really, it isn't.
Yeah, it certainly is, and with the low downforce, it's not going to be all that easy as well to get that throttle to 100% out of these slow corners, so it's really going to be all about just managing that throttle percentage and also looking after those rears, because it's one thing to be really aggressive and get the power down as early as you possibly can, but you're going to suffer, especially later in the race when you're having to try and do a one-stop possibly, so you're not going to want to push that gas pedal a little bit too hard too early. You're going to want to try and feed it as slowly, as smoothly as you possibly can, just to try and save those rears a bit.
Someone looking for an artist's move is Bruno Canavas at this moment. Alex Ahuya is just in front. The draft from Jacob Swiderski is currently just the great equalizer, but looking around the outside of the Curva Grande, inside, coming along then for turns 4 and 5 at the Della Roggia. Mistake in front on the anti-cut curves, missing the braking zone goes Swiderski. He drops 3 places. Alex Gillen picks one up as well. Gillen is now at 11 places here in the opening 3.5 laps of this race. Some big movers here up and down the field. McLeod is up 5 places here at the moment. You've got the likes of Piotrowski up 3 places of his own, but there is nobody who has made more moves so far than Alex Gillen.
Yeah, certainly. Gillen's done a fantastic job to hold on to this car and get around the circuit and pretty much avoid all the carnage that's been going on and put himself into 14th at the moment. He's doing really a fantastic job for someone who probably doesn't drive this car as much as the likes of Sanfilippo, McLeod and co. So he's doing really, really well and is going to try and line a move up on here on Alex Ugia, but nevertheless, back at the front of the field, it looks like Sanfilippo starting to try and check out here, but the draft just slightly too strong.
Yeah, that's going to be the key here, as Ahuya's going to lose the place here. That's going to be key. Alex Gillen down to the inside. Ahuya's going to try and come right back on the brakes, but Gillen has got that one on tap, up to 12th place now. Alex Gillen goes, but it is worth noting here at this moment in time, Danilo Sanfilippo is losing a boatload at this moment to Ben Fuller. Another 0.4 of a second went away on that last lap by, and compare fastest lap times, there is an 0.8 of a second difference between Ben Fuller and Danilo Sanfilippo.
Yeah, it's a big difference, and it's not really all that character-like of Sanfilippo to be that far off the pace. So clearly Fuller doing something right to manage to hold on that lead as big as he's got, and at this point he's probably got a nice advantage to have such a lead so he doesn't have to worry about the draft from Sanfilippo.
Exactly, and that's the key. He's already got 4.2 seconds in the bank, and he's probably got a bit more now in terms of some pocket change to go and play with and work with for the first of 1 or 2 stops that are available here today. We'll see how it goes across the line. He sets his time with 24.4, and the gap now 4.4, almost 4.5 tenths of 4.5 seconds even now at this moment in time. Positions though, these are vital for the championship. Ben Fuller is out of the championship fight. He's racing for pride, he's racing for a race victory. But someone like Danilo Sanfilippo has been the most consistent driver in this field, always knocking in and around the podium. To improve on positions, he needs the strength of field to be good, and he needs anywhere from around 2nd to 5th, and this feels more like a 2nd today needed than a 5th.
Yes, certainly. It's a 3,180 soft by the looks of it, so there's a reasonable amount of points on offer, and with the likes of Marcos not here, this will be pretty much the race that he needs to try and gain some points over that, especially with the fact that drop rounds are starting to come into play. So he's going to really want to try and just minimize damage limitation at the moment and try and just get some points under his belt instead of making mistakes of trying to force the issue more or less.
Marco Sanfilippo has found the back of Chris Owen. Remember, Chris Owen effectively has no drops available, and he gets a big wiggle there coming through the second part of Ascari. Had to lift out of it. Here comes Marco, who will have to go the long way around at the famous Parabolica Corner on the brakes. Side by side, the pair of them go, and just like that, Owen has the defence for now, but there's another long straight that equally follows back up on the run to the Rettifilo here to start lap 7 of their race, and Marco Sanfilippo will have to go once again the long way around Chris Owen, who will make life as tough as possible to make this one happen. On the brake, contact straight on goes both Sanfilippo there. Chris Owen will just about survive, and ultimately a slowdown penalty will come here from Marco Sanfilippo. I wonder if that was redressed by Chris Owen. I think it was.
Yeah, hard to tell if it was or not, but possibly looks. Yeah, that's a hard one to call on who was at fault there, but possibly front wing damage going to be on Chris Owen's car, and Sanfilippo possibly going to have side pod or floor tray damage, so who knows what's going to happen there. But Chris Owen tried to redress there a little bit early on, but unfortunately Sanfilippo with a slowdown, so Owen will have the position regardless, but the race is not going particularly well for those two.
And it's not for those a little bit further down. Ray Griffioen and Edu Villa, both miles down. Edu Villa down into the pits. Reynaldo Augusto in again. He's probably out, along with Rafael Mata, probably out of this race as well. So casualties in the early stages then of this one. Alex Ahuia is again looking backwards this time though to Rusty Kruger, who is looking to be up plus 11 at the moment. Gets a storming run up towards Ascari, and on the brakes he goes. He gets that one done without too many worries at all. So Rusty Kruger from starting 26th now up into 15th.
Yeah, so up 11 positions now is Rusty Kruger doing an all right job at the moment, trying to hold off Alex. Yeah, as Mills trying to make a move on the car of Piotrowski, going to look to the inside and move done very easy. Or nearly locked the rears a little bit there, but manages to hold on.
Jody Mills, good move from him there, and the number 19 machine moves by Jaden Thurlow without too many, moves past Piotrowski without too many worries at all. Jaden Thurlow is just behind this group at this moment in time in 9th position, a full 3 seconds off of the pace of this pack as things stand. But it is very much a walk-away race at this moment, but this is a 100% distance race. And so many iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series moment at 100% race distance have happened here at Monza. Most famously, the robbing of Peter Berryman's first race victory for Apex Racing UK. The fact that he took himself and his teammate Kevin Ellis Jr. out in the space of what had to be one Ascari chicane.
Yeah, that Ascari chicane has seen a lot of moments over the years in the World Championship Series, and the likes of Martin Kroenke even having a moment there and ending his race. So that chicane's claimed a few victims and does not take prisoners at all, so it is as much as commitment as you possibly can, and that AstroTurf is one that does end up taking you by surprise if you aren't aware of it. So it's really just all about making sure you don't make any mistakes, especially in these longer races here where you can't really afford to make any mistakes and lose any draft.
Some important draft deadlocks, though, have been broken. Danilo Sanfilippo now 1.2 seconds down the road and has got by Edu Villa, who has lapped traffic. So that's going to be key in terms of the scrap that's going on. And, of course, you've got these two Lesmo corners, which become so very, very crucial to making sure you're not caught up behind anyone through these sections. You can go side by side through the first, but the second is a lot more open, a lot quicker of an apex, a lot tougher to get any moves done. And as you can see, Clayton McLeod having to wait till out of the corner to get by Edu Villa, and you can see how much time that has cost him in terms of his run. Battle behind, Canavas and Hyla still together, and both of them trying to chase down Jaden Thurlow to a rate of 4 and 7/10 respectively.
Yeah, and they'll have the draft as well of each other to try and work together to catch Thurlow at the moment, who's doing an all right job to recover from P12, as Danilo's actually lost a spot to Clayton McLeod here.
Ascari, it will have to be Ascari where the mistake happened. Caught the curb on the inside, the anti-cut curb through the first part. Motum Simulation Replay will show you it. And then it was all about overspeed. And at the institution of overspeed, someone was the test subject. It was not Danilo Sanfilippo, it was Clayton McLeod. He got the move done. He's back into second position. Clutch time at this race. And Danilo is coming up cropper with mistakes.
Yeah, he's starting to show a few signs of possibly pressure starting to get to his head a little bit. Is Sanfilippo. We had a bit of wheel spin as well to that first chicane that time by, so he's not been having a good last few laps. And Marco is on Chris Owen as well. So Marco back on the charge to try and catch his brother and Chantal ahead, but it's going to be a little bit too big of a gap at the moment.
The move was easy on Chris Owen. It was a basic pass in towards the Rettifilio. Turns numbers 1 and 2 out on track, so some good moves. It's on in the middle right now. Hyla is getting held up by Antonio Zaragoza at this moment in time. And look at this for power off of the exit then. Here comes Canavas, and all of a sudden he's going to get blocked out there a little bit through that small left-hand kink under the old banked circuit and on towards Ascari's chicane. And he's going to make a mistake here as Canavas. He runs wide, misses the apex. Opportunity lost, and you felt that if Antonio Zaragoza was not there, there would have been a chance. Alex Gillen now trying to get into the 1 second party.
Yeah, certainly could have been a pass there had the lap car not got in the way, but Gillen now not too far off the back of this, and that's the lap car of Zaragoza in the wall, but Mills trying to make a move here.
And gets it done on Chris Owen on the brakes then into the Rettifilio on lap 11. So Chris Owen, who needs results to keep the championship alive, to put it into perspective, he's 6th overall with only 2 drop rounds included right now. But the key fact is how many points back he is at the moment. He is a full 411 back on Marco Sanfilippo. So every result has to be perfect for the last 3 rounds of the season, and being in 7th place right now is not going to get the job done. He'll gain points, but not enough.
Yeah, certainly. He won't gain enough points being in the position that he currently is at the moment, but you just have to keep on pressing on in case the drivers ahead make mistakes and end up having to either have a long pit stop or in their races. We've seen Sanfilippo has been making a few mistakes here and there, so who knows what's going to happen at the end of this race.
And Edu Villa finds the wall at Ascari right in front of Marco, so Edu Villa ultimately having a torrid time of things today. His day is pretty much going to be all but over at this moment as he's hit the wall once again. Of course, in this series, there are no fast repairs. You don't get a spare car, you don't get a T car like you would say in the early 2000s. You got 17 incident points before a drive-through penalty, and you get disqualified if you go over 25 overall incidents. So that's what the drivers know that they've got to be racing here at this point, as they all look to try and make progress up through the field. But the key to this race is going to be all about strategy. The 1 versus the 2 stop here on lap 12 right now. Thurlow all of a sudden the cork in the bottle here with Hyla and Canavas closing up. Alex Gillen a 127.2 that last time by. He did make a mistake out on track. So that's why he has dropped so far back.
Yeah, and it's very, very easy to make a mistake here, especially when you're pushing so hard in these early parts of the race, trying to get a draft or trying to get away from the drivers behind you, and it's just so easy to do, especially with such little grip as well with the low downforce configurations. But nevertheless, should be able to try and recover that, as he's shown some pretty reasonable pace in these early few laps.
He's showing some very reasonable pace at the moment, and it is showing at this moment in time as they all push on forward. Now, this is going to be quite interesting here to look at. Where are the windows going to open for 2-stop and where they are going to open for 1-stop here today? If you divide 53 into 3, you'll get somewhere around 17 in terms of equal stints, and maybe a couple of 18s added on top of that. So 2 18s and a 17 needed in terms of stint length. So that window for an even stint opens in about 6 laps time, 5 to 6 laps time. You could see drivers coming in as early as maybe 4 laps time to come in and make their opening stops then for a 2-stop strategy. But you could see drivers as well here, Cam, really stretch out that stint, go to maybe 20 laps, 22 laps, and try and get themselves a nice short splash and dash to finish.
Yeah, certainly. It'll be interesting to see what everybody does. Obviously, draft probably going to be the big factor in trying to pit early or late, just to try and either get an overcut on someone or try and work it so you can end up with a drafting partner, because you're not really going to want to sit in clean air for too long around here with how prominent the draft is around here. So it's a little bit of a questionable strategy on what you do, and really it's just going to depend on where you're on track.
And where you are on track is going to be key to the way this race is going. Someone who is struggling, though, is Chris Owen in the number 5. He needs to make progress through the field. He is dropping backwards at a rate of not compared to the 2 drivers in front, Marco Sanfilippo and Jody Mills. He lost a whole second that last time by, and in fact, this is key. Clayton McLeod, lap 14, decides to pit, so this is a very early call for a 2-stop, even earlier than I thought he'd go.
Yeah, it certainly is a very early stop, and possibly wonder if he's trying to if he feels he's got a bit more pace than Sanfilippo and is just trying to use that clean air to sort of get some nice consistent laps in, although he has come out behind the car of John Pat Kelly, so possibly hasn't worked the strategy quite to the advantage that he might have liked, but nevertheless, we'll see how that strategy works.
We'll see, but look at where he's come out here. He's with Andreas Nielsen and John Pat Kelly, and what's worth noting around this place and in these vehicles, that it's not the tyres that are the big selling point of where the struggles come. It's the extra added fuel that gets put into these vehicles, which makes the whole world a difference in terms of this race. The fuel that you add into the car pretty much gives you a 1/10 per kilogram, and if you're filling it up 40, 50 kilos, that's going to be a lot of time that you're losing.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a big factor, that fuel, and a big time difference in how much you put in the car. Like you said, it's about a 1/10 per kilo, so there's going to be a lot of time lost if you're putting a lot of fuel in this first stop to get home and have to pit later on. So we'll see what happens with McLeod and whether that fuel is going to end up paying off later in the race, but nevertheless, it's looking like it's a pretty heated scrap, though, between the likes of Thurlow and Canavas still going on.
Absolutely, and Jaden Thurlow now is trying to work out what he needs to do to shake these drivers off behind. It may even have to be that we see a Indianapolis-style serpentine at this moment in time to see Jaden Thurlow pull away, but Una Hayala gets a not very good run off of the corner, and Bruno Canavas right now is going to try and get the move. Oh, he has a big wiggle here, and on the brakes, you know what, that was wise from Una. He made sure that he was not going to put himself in any harm's way at all, just moves and keeps himself to the right-hand side, brakes early and says, Bruno, you know what, it's time. Go out there and chase down Jaden Thurlow for me.
Yes, certainly, and the other thing that Hayler can use to his advantage is just sitting behind and saving a little bit of fuel as well to try and shorten those pit stops up, whether it be 1 stop or 2 stops, depending on what he does for strategy. It'll just be a little bit extra that'll help him at the end when he gets into the pits.
That's going to be key here at this track. When you pit, it's going to be something to just keep in mind at this moment. No takers yet here on lap 14, apart from the one that we did see earlier, and retirements have got a little bit higher at this point in time. Jose Serpa is on the lane at the moment. His day pretty much done. Esteves and Oliveira, Antonio Zaragoza, Reynaldo Augusto and Rafael Mata all out of the race at the moment, but it is on right now in these positions as we got ourselves a replay of what did happen then to Jose Serpa out on track, and they can see that's a spin, that's some gravel out on track, and that is a toe.
Do wonder if he's maybe possibly hit the incident limit there to end up causing him to maybe get a penalty or possibly even get DQ'd, and he's had to just call it a day, unfortunately. He was caught up in that earlier shunt at 2 and 1 as well, so hasn't been having the best of days as Jose Serpa, but nevertheless, Bruno Canavas all over the back end of James Thurlow here, and Thurlow with a much better run out of the second Lesmo.
Exactly, and it's this run up through small kink left, up the hill they come along once again towards Ascaria. Very, very tough braking zone, this one. You almost have to brake later than you think, but not too late, because it's a one-line suits all corner there down at the first part of Ascaria. You have to be so aggressive over the curves, but not too aggressive, as the anti-cut curves have proven. Look at this, though. The run goes the long way round here against Thurlow, who could have won the other one of these sorts of races, and knows how to go long on the strategy. So they can see Thurlow losing out to Bruno Canavas, getting it done, but straight back, immediately aggressive to the inside on the front stretch. The run to the Rettifilio once again here on lap 17 of 53, and on the brakes he goes. He can't get it done. Canavas runs too deep though, and into the side. That did not work. Oversteer central. Torque not helping Thurlow. There goes through Hyula.
Yes, that's 2 in the space of 1 corner for the car of James Thurlow, unfortunately, but nevertheless, it is one of those tricky corners that trying to go side by side through doesn't really pay off for the driver on the inside for the first corner. So James Thurlow going to end up sitting behind and is going to have the car of Alex Gillen not too far behind as well. So Gillen's starting to close in on this little group here and is slightly quicker as well.
And that's the key, slightly quicker, 125.5 compared to a 26.1 from Thurlow, whose lap will be heavily hampered around his place. Hyula as well, needing a good result here. Keith McLeod is looking at his positions, but we do have drivers in, and it is your race leader, Ben Fuller, lap 18. He's going to split this one evenly. 2 18s and a 17 we're looking at in terms of his stint lengths here, Cam, and this is going to be the crucial factor. Looks for his box, up on the jacks there. There go the tyres onto the vehicle, waiting for fuel down off of the jacks, and should be out and away shortly. He built up a 11-second margin over Danilo Sanfilippo. Long wait for the green commitment cones to get going again, and off and away he will go behind Canavas, behind Hyula, and ahead of Alex Gillen, will he, on the brakes in towards turn number 1? Yes, just about, but will be under pressure.
Yeah, Gillen's going to have a nice bit of draft here from Ben Fuller, though. Fuller's going to have slightly newer tyres, but probably a heavier car, so he's going to have to try and work this one out as Fuller to try and pull away from Gillen, which he seems to be just doing ever so slightly at the moment with his new tyres, but nevertheless he's got a few drives to try and pass to hopefully not get held up. He's got Hagler and obviously Canavas battling just ahead, so he's going to want to get held up by those two. But now the question is going to be, when does Sanfilippo pit and when does Chantal and also the rest pit?
Well, that's going to be the crucial factor. We have to stay out here, look and wait, see who looks to commit for a more aggressive 2-stop or a less aggressive 2-stop, some would say, who's looking at a 1-stop strategy here today. Danilo Sanfilippo stays out for a 19th lap on the stint at the moment. It's a long wait for Stefan Chantal, who does dive though down onto the lane. So Chantal comes in at the end of lap 18 to make his stop, and that will release Jody Mills on forward and co at this moment in time. So that's crucial to keep in mind here at this point. Drivers will be choosing whether to come down or not. Bruno Canavas will also come down in. That will help Ben Fuller out in terms of making all of the statements required.
Yeah, it certainly will be helping him out for sure. And Still a long way to go, though, and just going to want to minimize the amount of mistakes he possibly can to try and hopefully end up somewhere later on in this race and not end up further down the field than he normally would. And Chantal's not come out not too far behind McLeod as well, so possibly going to be some nice clean air for Chantal and going to end up having some nice clean laps to get in.
Well, that's the crucial fact as John Pat Kelly's lost back to Clayton McLeod. We've still got good battles here out on the road, and Danilo Sanfilippo with his margin of 8 seconds right now here out on track. Marco Sanfilippo is 8 seconds back, as we've said, and then you look back, it's a further 5 seconds to Jody Mills here in third position. There's Ben Fuller. There's how far he's back. He's 23.7 seconds back, looking to get past Una Hyla here for 6th position overall. This will be hurting him in terms of this one. He's lost 2 tenths over the course of this lap to the race leader at this moment in time, but this is the caveat. Going longer for Danilo is always going to help. He stays out once again, as does Marco, as does Jody, and not Chris Owen. He dives in, end of 19.
Yes, another taker to the lane by the looks of it, and a very slow stop as well for Bruno Canavas, possibly a speeding in pit lane penalty with the fact that he's been stationary for so long. He's just come up behind Piotrowski 1 lap down, so Canavas completely out of this one now, unfortunately, and it's going to be between Hale and Gillen by the looks of it, who have both come in.
Exactly, and that's going to be the key. It's a battle of pit crews at the moment between those drivers. Gillen should be off of the jacks first compared to Hyla. In fact, Hyla off and away by a country mile then in terms of the stop. So no worries at all, but there you can see there's Chris Owen, and he's had a very long stop here. If Una Hyla has come out right behind, so Chris Owen all of a sudden finds himself in a little bit of trouble here, drives behind, are closing in. That was a long stop from Chris Owen.
Yeah, it's a 15-second pit stop. And remember, he did have contact earlier on with Marco, so there probably was a bit of damage to repair, front wing or possibly a rear wing. So Chris Owen going to drop down the order with those repairs happening in the pit lane, unfortunately. And we'll see what happens when at the end of this race and where he ends up.
Well, this is crucial as well to remember. We're about 6 laps away from the halfway stage of the race, which will be around lap 26, lap 27 here of this race. Let's talk about the last 2 or 3 laps on the stint. The tyres absolutely fall off a cliff. This might just be the case where the one stop is the one that works today in terms of this one for drivers. We'll see how this one plays out, but as things stand, Jody Mills has also come down in for a stop then on this lap. So Mills is going to come out here behind Clayton McLeod. That was no surprise. Behind Stefan Chantal, though, is the next question. Who's coming down the front stretch out of the Parabolica right now? Cross the stripe, goes along. And where is Mills? Mills is going to fall out behind. So Chantal keeps ahead of Jody Mills. But Mills, crucially, has to keep plugging away right now, knowing that probably at the end of this race has 13 laps on the final stint.
Yeah, certainly does have to keep plugging away, does Jody Mills, especially going to have those low feeling new tyres in that last stop as well to try and use to his advantage to try and get ahead of everybody ahead, the likes of Chantal and McLeod. McLeod probably a little bit out of reach, but Chantal very much a possibility to end up getting by for Mills.
Well, that's going to be crucial. Jody Mills wants to get by Chantal. Another position is going to be very nice as in comes Danilo Sanfilippo then, the race leader at the time. At the end of lap 21, the start of lap 22, he hands over the race lead to brother Marco as he looks to convert to a 2-stop strategy here on lap 22 of 53. He will get on, he will get away. Already Ben Fuller has gone by a rate of knots. There's Canavas looking to try and get back through, and there is Clayton McLeod coming down the straight right now. It won't be close enough for Clayton because that is officially Danilo Sanfilippo holding station.
Yeah, it certainly is Danilo holding station at the moment, and he'll be possibly trying to save a little bit of fuel as McLeod is a moment into turn 1. They ran a little bit deep, locked the rears, and just managed to hold on to it somehow, but you're going to damage those tyres a tiny little bit. We're going to replay of what happened to McLeod into turn 1. You can just see hard on the brake pedal into turn number 1, lock the rears just a little bit, pinched the front, and ended up having to do sort of a little bit of a Tokyo drift into there.
Yep, absolutely. The front went, the back went, and then they got it all straight and back again in terms of that position. So well worked to keep the car on the straight and narrow out here on track. So as things look at the moment, 2 drivers yet to come in, now 1, because Marco Sanfilippo comes in at the end of lap 22, which is a 2-stop strategy for Marco, unless he's going to be incredibly brave and run himself for 30 laps on the final stint of tyres. Stefan Piotrowski will take the race lead and probably will look at a 1-stop strategy now. It's only 3 more laps he has to drive out here, 4 more laps, and then he's just got to do that stint all over again. The one issue he's got for the race win is that effectively they are racing for position right now, and Ben Fuller's only 2 seconds back.
Yeah, he's not too far behind is Ben Fuller at the moment. Is the car of Marco Sanfilippo comes out of pit lane. So Marco, having done his stop now, pit stop time not too bad actually compared to the car of Ben Fuller. Slightly quicker, although slightly longer in the lane. So a little bit odd for Marco to be slightly slow in the pit stop, as we've seen some very quick stops from him and Tonello over the past few weeks. But nevertheless, Marco with what going for the 2-stop by the looks of it.
Well, I wouldn't rubbish that pit stop at all, because the work he's done coming into that section, he has now jumped Stefan Chantal in the stop. So Marco Sanfilippo is getting to maxima at this point in time. He needs every point he can get, remember, over Mark Usher, who has himself maybe better drops available if he turns up for the final 2 rounds of the championship. And of course that season finale at Suzuka is going to be something worth keeping an eye out on. But some brilliant battles will be happening up and down this field, and drivers will be looking at 1-stops or 2-stops here today. And it's clear it's 1-stop Piotrowski at the moment, a 25.4 again that last time by. But Ben Fuller absolutely flying, 24/7's taking 7/10 of a second every single lap out of it at the moment. That's the crucial fact of the matter here, is that Ben Fuller is absolutely flying. He's got 12 seconds over Danilo Sanfilippo at this moment. Clayton McLeod only a further 2 seconds back, and Marco Sanfilippo has now 7 seconds, or now 6.5, to try and chase down Clayton McLeod, which he will be doing for the remaining laps in this race. Great battle going on, though, further down for 11th position onwards. This is Thurlow, John Pat Kelly, and Swiderski, and also Andreas Nielsen, as well as David Cudmore in this as well. 5 cars split by 3.6 seconds.
Yeah, very compacted little pack here going on for this final few positions outside the top 10. Thurlow going to be here having John Pat Kelly look to make him move up the inside down into turn 1. Drag race into turn number 1, and the overspeed for John Pat Kelly is going to give him the advantage. Thurlow looking to come back, but not quite going to be close enough. And even the car of, that was the Swiderski, going to move on Jane Thurlow, but couldn't quite get it done.
Yeah, and that was very interesting as well, because John Pat Kelly is pretty much now MI and A going through that. Here comes Swiderski down to the inside of Thurlow. Not much you can do about that one. On the brakes, round the outside to defend it, though. Here comes Nielsen looking to take both of them. Are they going to go 3 wide here into the first Lesmo? Oh, you bet they are. They have completely Hakkinen and Schumachered it at a place which is the Kemmel Straight. That is move of the season.
Great move there by Nielsen to take it 3 wide and get 2 for 1. That is definitely move of the season. Unbelievable driving by Nielsen to do that. And Thurlow going to lose 2 in 1 hit.
That's amazing. I'm sorry, my mouth is wide open in awe and intrigue at that move, and it takes so much courage and bravery to go 3 wide into the first Lesmo. It's a corner which is very much a case where you go onto the outside and you lose so much grip trying to put the power down. That took commitment, and it did so very well. On for the overall race lead, though, Stefan Piotrowski here on lap 25 is about to get caught by Ben Fuller here, and this is going to be the pivotal moment. John Pat Kelly out with technical issues, those being of the disconnect variety. But at the moment, Ben Fuller is about to take the race lead overall on strategy as well. This is going to be crucial. He's going to set up a fantastic draft down the front stretch towards turn number 1, and this should be, as Sherlock Holmes had never said, elementary, my dear Watson. On the brakes in towards turn number 1, no resistance. Ben Fuller goes deep but has the race lead.
Yeah, so Follett still with a good move, and Gillen's had a moment here, and he's stuck on the curb at the second chicane, and that's not gone well. He's locked the rears and just simply he's actually rotated on his own and just spun the wheels up.
Exactly, and that's the key. He's just gone back, and then he's got himself caught, and there is that wooden block that is there that, of course, in 1994, I do believe it was, caused a race disqualification for Michael Schumacher in the Benetton. That canvas, or that plank, is effectively what is keeping Alex Gillen stuck on that section. He sees he's stuck, he has to tow it, and ultimately his race over after being up 14 positions in this race. So Alex Gillen now has the longest tow in the world and will then have to get back out and going once again.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Gillen there. After doing so well and being up 14 positions and looking to possibly gain even more positions if he could keep on going the way he was, that's just got to be heartbreaking.
It's got to hurt as Jaden Thurlow loses another place to David Cudmore out on track, as we've got another driver here who is around out on track, and we've caught it right now. Andreas Nielsen, our eyes were on, so let's get ourselves a motion simulation replay. What happened to Nielsen? He was the next big gainer in the field. He capitalised. He would have been up 14 places as he hits the brakes into the first corner, and you can see goes through the left pretty okay, but when he gets through the right and tries to put the power down, around he goes and he gets a bit of help for his troubles. Cones go flying everywhere, hashtag Cone Lives Matter, and ultimately as he gets himself back going again, there goes 4 positions.
Yeah, so 4 positions lost, and probably going to require a rear wing change as well in the pit stop with the fact that he got hit from behind. So we'll see what happens for Nielsen. Unfortunate there, but at the moment, Clayton McLeod back in pit lane for his secondary stop.
Is this a 3-stop? Has Max Del Orco been on the phone to Clayton McLeod and said a 3-stop might be the strategy?
Who knows? This would be the first one out of the lot to try a 3-stop. It makes no sense to do a 3-stop. You'd lose too much time in pit lane.
I know, that's the thing. So this is a reference that a lot of people will not get, is that in the early 2010s of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, there was a driver called Max Del Orco, and Max Del Orco was a madman, I think is the right way to describe him. He'd always go for the adverse and the strategy that nobody's really thought of. So 3 stops today was not on anybody's card for quickest strategy, way to get yourself around. In comes Piotrowski for his one and only stop, unless this is an incredibly long 2-stop that we are seeing, because it is now in the realms of possibility you can get it home to the end. Alex Gillen finally gets himself off of the lane, but Piotrowski in on lap 27 for the 1-stop.
Yeah, we'll see where Piotrowski ends up when he comes on out. The car of Jody Mills goes on by, so looks like it's going to be P7, possibly P8. No, he's going to have P7. Well and truly is Piotrowski, as the car of Hayler is too far back. So see how this 1-stop works, as Chantal is starting to move up as well.
He was, but then he had a spin down at the Rettifilio there. So on the power, trying to get going, and the back stepped out. He immediately slammed the brakes to make sure he didn't go around. But ultimately, that's cost him 4 seconds or so, because there's a Jody Mills just sitting back going, oh, freebie, is it? No, I'm going to have to work for this one.
Yeah, just too aggressive on the acceleration, and possibly just a little bit too early on the gas as well, with the fact that the car was unbalanced from hitting the inside curb. So very easy to do, but nevertheless, Chantal now going to be under pressure from Jody Mills, who's just behind, tucked up in the draft.
Exactly, and this is the key here. The battle going on for 4th place at the moment on the road. Both drivers due one final stop then in this race as we are over the halfway stage. In this one, Ben Fuller leads by 13.8 seconds over Danilo Sanfilippo in 2nd position, who's got a further 9 seconds to Marco Sanfilippo in 3rd on the recovery drive at the moment. But the key to this race at this moment in terms of the battles is 4th and 5th. But we look a little bit here at Jaden Thurlow, who is in the pit for his 1-stop out and away. Mills close, but not close enough yet to Chantal. Time to use the draft, which is so much stronger here than many other places.
Yeah, it certainly is much stronger, and McLeod's just managed to jump Jaden Thurlow as well. So McLeod, yeah, it is actually a lap, sorry. So that's going to be a weird one, how that 3-stop's going to try and work. And Mills had to go wide and straight through the chicane.
Oh, and that was a shame there at the Della Roggia to get that one wrong. A case of getting on the brakes a little too hot, having to take the Lewis Hamilton line there, slip away through the chicane. It's about 4 seconds the slowdown penalty through that section. As you can see, he only just now finishes serving the penalty at the second Lesmo to get himself going. That's how much that penalty hurts.
Certainly does, and it's a very painful penalty as well, with the fact that it just takes so long to get rid of, especially around here where you've got drivers doing draft and lap times doing draft and then others not doing draft. So it's really, really painful around here to end up getting a slowdown, and you just lose so much because of it.
Exactly, and that's the key. How much time you lose by making mistakes, and it's those drivers who have been minimizing the mistakes throughout the season that are going to be best placed when it comes to this championship. And after all of the incidents that happened at turn number 1, you really felt here in terms of the narrative of the storyline that we've seen this season, that Neo Sanfilippo, for all of his podium finishes, has yet to get the one race victory. It's been spread between 2 drivers, Marco Sanfilippo, his own brother, and Mark Usher, who's not here for the second consecutive week. After turn 1, you thought Danio's got this one on pat, but ultimately, nope. Once again, he finds himself in second place.
Real mystery how this has managed to end up happening in the real scale of things. I mean, Fuller's just had amazing pace compared to Sanfilippo, though Sanfilippo quite a bit quicker that last time by, so possibly might see that gap start to come down a little bit, but 12 seconds is a big amount of time to try and gain back in the next 20 or so laps.
Exactly, it's always a tough margin to try and chase down, and this is now going to be interesting. Someone like Chris Owen, for example, for the championship, he's down right now almost a minute on the race leader, in 9th position overall in this race. He's got himself an island all to himself, so to speak, because he is now 9 seconds behind Una Hyla, and he is 11 seconds ahead of Jacob Swiderski. So that's going to be trouble for him. He can't gain positions, he can't lose them either.
Certainly can't. So there's no real loss or gain here for the man, but nevertheless, going to be very tough road ahead for everyone else. Still a lot of racing to go, and Thurlow still trying to find a way by.
Swiderski's had a mistake, and it's a spin coming out, or a half spin coming out of the Ascari chicane. Just gets the rears stepping out once, twice, and he really lights up those rears, trying to get the car to straighten out. It really doesn't, so he almost goes fully around, but it has cost him 2 positions to Rusty Kruger now, who's up 16 places in this race, and Andreas Nielsen up 12.
Yeah. He's just been plugging away and doing his own thing, and he's ended up in the top 10 now at the moment, and up as many positions as you said. So just goes to show that you don't exactly need heaps of pace to end up going all right. You just need to make sure you keep it on the black stuff and not make any mistakes.
And that's been the key. Look how many retirements there's been today. You can already count half a dozen, and half a dozen plus a Baker's half a dozen. So that's 7 at the moment, not here. So Rafael Mata, Reynaldo Augusto, Antonio Zaragoza, Esteves and Oliveira, Jose Serpa, Antonio Alvarez, and Bruno Canavas, all out of the race then. Here today, the last runner at this moment in time on track is Alex Gillen here in 19th position, up 5 places, but could have been so much more. He's trying to chase down John Pat Kelly, who is back out and going after having his disconnect issues, and whoa, dear me.
Whoa, dear me. It was very much the statement there for Nielsen, who nearly ended up putting it in the wall, but lucky just to hold on and not end up with any further issues, and actually might have just brushed the wall ever so slightly and might have just got away with it, but maybe a little bit of damage.
Well, we'll see this on the Motum simulation replay into Ascari. You can see far too aggressive over the curb. Anti-cut gives you air. And yes, he does hit the wall on the left-hand side. So you can see, is there going to be any wheel wobble there? No, it looks like he's got away with that. You can still see the tyre tracks there in the gravel as drivers fly on by here in this race. We have ourselves 23 laps to go here in this race, which is actually now down to 21 laps to go in this race as Eddie Villa's 2 laps down. So Ben Fuller, 13 seconds, 21 laps, and 1 pit stop remaining here in this one. Eyes on Piotrowski, though. This is the key. Finds himself 30 seconds adrift of Danilo Sanfilippo. That puts him probably 7 seconds ahead on the road at the moment in net second. The difference, though, is the lap times. It's 1.2 seconds at the moment every single lap.
Piotrowski obviously going to be slightly slower and going to have obviously a slightly heavier car to try and go a little bit further, but be interesting to see what happens. Like you said, that gap is about what a pit stop is going to end up being, so it's going to be very close at the moment between those two, and whether Piotrowski is going to end up jumping Sanfilippo, that's the big question.
Exactly, that's the key. He's heavy on fuel, 126.2 his last time by, so those times aren't looking very healthy in terms of compared to rivals around. So the people that he's fighting against are doing high 124s, high to mid 24s against 26s. Well, there's only one scenario for that option really, Cam, and that is that the 24s win every time.
Yeah, absolutely they do, for sure, and it's just one of those things, the quicker you are, the better off you're going to be, and just trying to be as consistent as you could be, trying to be as consistent as you possibly can be is just going to help you in the long run as well, especially in these longer races where you have to do so many laps at a time per stint. So we'll see what happens between the likes of Sanfilippo, but hard pressed for Piotrowski to try and get this done with the lap times that he's running at the moment.
Exactly, and he may even fall behind Marco Sanfilippo if he's not careful in this race. He should be safe from Stefan Chantal, so at worst, you feel for Piotrowski in this situation. It's 4th place right now, but look who's chasing him down in terms of the scrap on track. There is the 3-stopping Clayton McLeod. At least we believe it's a 3-stop at the moment. 26 flat from him right now compared to a 26.1. So Clayton McLeod at this point in time is 6th on the road. Jody Mills is just behind, as is Una Hyler out on track. But if McLeod pits again, he probably drops behind Chris Owen and falls into the clutches of maybe a Rusty Kruger.
Yeah, very interesting to see what happens here. And considering Kruger has been going all right and has had reasonable pace, it'll be interesting to see what happens between the likes of. So just going to have to keep an eye on it and see what happens, really.
Exactly, this is the key. Keep an eye on things, see who's going to make what move, who's going to dive down when. We are hitting that window, but a second lot of stops. For those who are looking for 218s and a 17, you start to think now, lap 35, maybe lap 36 might be the times to see pit stops be made. And I think this is going to be the moment as Piotrowski gets overtaken by Clayton McLeod into the Parabolica Corner without any fuss or squabble through that section. So McLeod jumped up now to 5th place here in this race. Remember, though, he still has to pit.
Yeah, he still does have to pit, absolutely. So it's not really going to be too many gains, but at the same time, it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to after that stop as well.
Well, that's going to be the key, where he will come out, and we'll see other drivers come in very, very shortly, I do believe, here in this race. We are, of course, now heading towards lap 36 as the race leader's going to come in. He's got traffic on pit entry. He gets away with it there. David Cudmore was struggling onto the lane, who's definitely not as confident there. It's such an early marker as well, Cam, down onto the lane. It's nowhere near the Formula 1 line. That is very much a GT3 line pit entry.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you just cannot afford to end up getting held up. Although Fuller with a nice decent lead that he's got over Sanfilippo, he shouldn't lose too much out of that, but that could have very nearly ended so badly and been race ending for Fuller there.
Exactly, he could have gone one of many ways. He could have done the Lewis Hamilton move into the back of David Cudmore. He could have found the pit attenuator if he wasn't careful, and Ben Fuller is out and away in front of Stefan Chantal out on track after that stop. So now Marco Sanfilippo and Danilo Sanfilippo, they should be due to make stops between now and the end of this race. The other thing they could do, if they are incredibly brave, is try and stretch out that margin, but they are going to be on tyres which will be begging for mercy as they go around the final few laps of this race. That is something to consider, but probably something that will not happen, deeming to be the fact that they'll lose maybe upwards of a second a lap come the end of the race.
Yeah, certainly. That drop-off is really going to be very noticeable come the end of this race in those last few laps, especially with the current track temp. It's up to 44 degrees now from earlier in the race when it was down in the low 40s. So those tyres are really going to start to hurt, and it's going to really start to show later in the race, like you said, with the fact that they're going to be worn out and really going to be begging for a bit of mercy.
Exactly, that's the key then. So there is still maybe room for strategy to start playing its hand at the moment in terms of what results drivers have got in other split so far. This is the biggest strength of field split that they've got. Both Marco and Danilo Sanfilippo did not score enough points to improve their scores, with 133 for Danilo and only 60 for Marco. They need, Marco needs 139 points to improve. Remember, Danilo Sanfilippo needs 166 points plus to gain points in the championship camp.
Yes, certainly. That's a lot of points to gain in these next few rounds. And it's a big ask as well with the fact that the strength fields aren't exactly much bigger than they are today. So it's really just going to be all about trying to be as high up the pecking order as you possibly can in these races to try and see if you can get just enough points over that threshold to get something in the championship. But nevertheless, we'll see what happens. I mean, for all we know, we could see an even bigger soft come the final 2 weeks. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens, really.
Exactly. Out of the pits comes both Una Hyler then and Jody Mills, who have both made their stops. Mills will come out behind Rusty Kruger, and Una Hyler then with Andreas Nielsen in between. So that's crucial in terms of their fights. The drivers in front should all need to come in and make another stop then in terms of the way this race is running right now. It is going to be a crucial battle to see. 16 laps to go here at Autodromo Nazionale Monza, and the end to a season which has been full of intrigue has seen pretty much the yardstick flop, twist and turn as Stefan Chantal comes in from fourth.
Yeah, so we'll see where Chantal possibly comes out. McLeod's still pressing on, doing low 25s, nearly in the 24s even. So matching the pace of the leaders at the moment and not too far off the likes of Fuller and Sanfilippo. So this is going to be very close between McLeod and the likes of Chantal, and possibly see a really, really close battle at the end of the race here.
Exactly, this is going to be key. So Chantal off and away. It's going to be a mile behind Stefan Piotrowski at this moment, but that's going to be the chase down target for the number 8 machine of Stefan Chantal. Can I get to the back of Stefan Piotrowski, who's heading into the Della Roggia right now? In terms of comparison, Chantal is out of the Rettifilio, so that's the margin. You got one Curva Grande to chase down. Sounds so simple on paper, doesn't it, Cam? But in reality, that's a lot of time.
It certainly is, and it's very, very difficult to have to put in those basically qualifying sort of spec laps consistently, lap after lap, for a number of laps, especially when the tyres start to wear as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether that ends up being able to happen, or whether there's going to be a little bit of lacking pace there with this new pit stop.
Well, that's going to be something to keep in mind. Jacob Swiderski out of the pits, falls a lap down. Jaden Thurlow is out of the pits as well. He's now 2 laps down. Edu Villa is also down in on the lane once again here in this race. So still though, these drivers are pretty much waiting on strategy calls to come in. We are looking at maybe Danilo and Marco having maybe 8 laps in terms of strategy to get it home, get it dry, get one stop in the book. But at the moment, there are battles going on out on track. There are still positions to be had from drivers who do need to come down in and make some stops. Chris Owen is one of them who needs to come down in at the moment. He's been promoted up to 7th position at the moment, but of course, with one more stop probably needed in the books, he's still going to need to drop back a couple of places behind Jody Mills and maybe Una Hyler as well.
Yeah, it's going to be quite fascinating to see where Chris Owen comes out. Obviously, he had to get repairs earlier on as well, and has had not too good a pace as well in these recent few laps has been doing 26s and 27s even, so a little bit off the pace as Chris Owen at the moment, especially with that new wing as well, so possibly further damage to the floor tray or even the diffuser, and it's just lacking obviously a bit of top end and grip, so not going to be too ideal for Chris Owen, and his championship hasn't gone too well like we've talked about, so we won't be too happy with this result.
That's going to be crucial to keep in mind. Jody Mills right now we focus on, because Jody's trying to get a move done on Rusty Kruger here in the number 25 car in this field. 26 is the lowest number. That belonged to Estevez and Oliveira out on track. But Rusty Kruger in the number 25 car comes from Club California as he looks to get on the brakes through the right, left, the right, and now the left again here on the Ascari chicane. This should be an easy move for Jody Mills. If Jody can't get it done here at Parabolica, he can lift off just like he is right now and go for the biggest overtaking opportunity on the circuit at turn number 1, the Variante de Rettifilio, and actually on cue, Rusty Kruger decides with Andreas Nielsen to dive down in and have a stop.
Yeah, not a silly idea for Kruger to decide to come on in and sort of try and counter Nielsen coming in as well, although Nielsen probably more or less having to due to the fact that fuel was an issue, and Kruger with reasonably quick stop as well, so not a lot of fuel going into that car and probably actually finished before the tyres did, so this is going to be one of the things. You're not going to want to stay stationary for too long, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of who ends up with the shorter pit stop time.
So now this is the scenario that's going to be quite interesting. So Tedeschi has jumped Rusty Kruger in the stop, so that's going to be a battle to see towards the end. Cudmore is going to be behind Andreas Nielsen on strategy, so that's not going to work. McLeod is going for a third stop, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe my eyes, I have to blink twice. Clayton McLeod is making a third stop.
Now, this is going to be the interesting one. Is this actually going to work, or is this actually not? Because no one else has done this. Everybody else has gone one stop shorter, and at the moment, there's just... I can't see this working, but clearly McLeod might just know something that no one else does.
Well, there goes through Stefan Chantal. There goes a one lap down Ray Griffioen, who we haven't talked about here today. So, and they're also going through is Chris Owen, who will need to come down in and make a stop. So Chantal, at this moment in time, is going to get himself moving forward. We have more drivers down in on the lane, and it is the Neo Sanfilippo who decides to hit the marks. No surprises there. 21-21. He's going on his numbers here, looking for a mark. That's a very significant signal that maybe this is two stop here today. And now 10 seconds for Marco Sanfilippo with 12 laps to go in this race. He will have to try and hold off, but he did just put in a blistering 24.4. That was a tenth quicker than Ben Fuller that last time by. If Marco Sanfilippo can hold on these sets of tyres and get himself home and dry to the end, then Ben Fuller has to close down 10 seconds in 12 laps.
Yes, certainly, and it was actually a very quick stop there for Danilo Sanfilippo as well. 7.2 seconds stopped, so clearly a very short pit stop, and is pretty much matching everybody else that's been doing a secondary or third stop as well. McLeod, for reference, did a 6.9 second stop. So clearly it's going to be very, very close between the likes of Sanfilippo and Fuller, who's going to have to make that extra stop.
Exactly, that's the key. So Ben Fuller, who has come in, he's made all his stops. He knows he needs to just push now. Between now and the end, he's done 2 18s, and this is the 17 to push himself home and dry. Marco Sanfilippo, though, cannot go longer on the tyres anymore. He hits the markers, he will go down onto pit lane, and Ben Fuller will take the race lead of this one. And here on SimSpeed TV, he now stands himself set up without any real roadblocks. If he can just keep it on the island between now and the end of this race, he will be only the third different winner in 10 races, and that pretty much tells you how much of a strong championship this has been by the drivers at the front.
Yeah, it certainly has been a very, very strong display of driving by the drivers at the front, and Fuller can pull this off. It'll be something special, that's for sure. And that was a blistering stop from Marco with a 6.5 second stop. So not a lot of fuel gone into that car, and 4 new tires as well. He is going to be absolutely flying in this last stint.
Exactly, but you can see how far he is behind his brother Danilo. At this point, he's heading through the Della Roggia and only just now making his way under the bridge and into the left-right chicane now is Marco Sanfilippo. He is a whole Lesmo corner behind here on his brother and his teammate out on track, and that's going to be the hurt for him right now. He knows that he has dropped points. He's fought very admirably to get back into this position, but ultimately by being unable to convert to a one-stop strategy here today, he is ultimately 2 positions off of what he needed.
Yeah, he certainly is 2 positions off what he needed, and at the end of the day, this is going to hurt his championship, which he's not going to want to have happen, especially with the fact that we're only a few rounds out from the end of the championship. Danilo running a little bit wide in the Parabolica that time by, so possibly more mistakes starting to creep in for Danilo if he's not careful.
Well, that's going to be the case to be seen, so we'll see Danilo Sanfilippo now needing to just go careful here in the final stages. We've seen races thrown away like this with 10 laps to go. Traffic runs wide in front. That's Rusty Kruger there, falling a lap down in 11th position as Jacob Swiderski is running away from him at this moment in time as Hyla at this moment in time. I do believe we're having a look at for the moment. Well, this is actually Nielsen versus Cudmore, that we're looking at right now for 12th and 13th place. This is close. David Cudmore really making a push. It's Canada versus Scandinavia, and that is a big lift off on the brakes there into the left-right chicane of the Della Roggia. Nowhere near for a move.
Yeah, not quite close enough to make a move that last time by, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens. And Cudmore showing some reasonable pace today here at Monza, so could possibly be on for a decent result here. Struggled in the last few weeks, so be happy to try and put a nice race together today and try and find a way by Nielsen, who seems to just be doing enough to hold on.
Exactly, just enough is exactly what's needed. Into Lagos in 1 week's time. That's going to be a key battleground to see how the championship will all shift out in terms of the racing. But look at Cudmore's run here on Andreas Nielsen. Moves to the left-hand side of the circuit. On the brakes he goes, trying to get it done around the outside, but he goes far too deep, and you feel like David Cudmore is scared to get caught in an accident. Now he will move to the inside. He'll get a better run this time. You can see moves to the right-hand side, waiting for the better opportunity to go and get the move done. A decisive place to get the move done. And on the brakes there, Andreas Nielsen very early because Cudmore is far too late.
Yeah, Cudmore having to take to the escape road, and Thurlow also just in the background getting a move done on John Pat Kelly as well. So Thurlow moves up a spot, Cudmore loses a spot, and Nielsen up 1.
Nielsen up 1 more, so that's going to be key for him in terms of what he needs. He stays in that 12th place. He's up 11 places from where he started today. Rusty Kruger, though, is the biggest mover, up 15 overall at this moment. Look at Chris Owen right now. He has lost the space to Clayton McLeod. So Owen is trying to stay out as long as possible. That was easy as you like coming off of Parabolica. He ran wide, went over the old banking, and ultimately had to give up the place overall. So Chris Owen now trying to limp it home. He's got 8 seconds here to Jody Mills and 11 to Una Hyla, and he's running out of laps here because he's got 8 laps to go. 25.9 last time by from Jody Mills, 26.5 from Chris Owen. Mills has the potential to close right up in the latter stages of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Mills doing a fantastic job at the pace that he's got at the moment, and Chris Owen really struggling to try and at least try and pull a gap, or at least hold on with that damage that he's possibly got. So Mills going to try and hunt down Owen here as fast as he possibly can. Not too much longer left in the race, only about 8 laps to go, and it could very well be possible for Mills to hunt him down, but it's going to be really hard work.
It certainly is, and in terms of what we were talking about between Stefan Piotrowski and Stefan Chantal, a battle of 2 Stefans with 2 different spellings of their first name. It is Piotrowski who has got a huge margin of 13 seconds over Chantal. He is losing out in terms of time. He did a 25.9 that last time by to a 24.8, but 13 seconds in what is now 7 laps. Stefan Chantal would catch him, but he's out of road.
Mills
Well,
2 seconds quicker that last time by.
I know, that's absolutely fantastic. Chris Owen is being brought back down, hand over and fist. Chris Owen, 127.1. Jody Mills, 125.2. And 7th place is not safe for Chris Owen. And behind as well, Una Hyla took 1.1 seconds off as well, only a further 4 seconds back of Jody Mills. So Chris Owen's looking in his mirrors. You'll look at his black box relative and go, this was not how I envisioned things when I took pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be really not too happy with how this race has gone, with the fact that he ended up getting punted at turn 1 and then having contact with Marco again later on. And yeah, it just has been a race to forget, unfortunately, for Chris Owen. So he'll be trying to at least try and recover some form of points, but he's going to have some real pressure coming up very quickly in Jody Mills.
Exactly, that's going to be the key, the pressure that will come up from Jody Mills. And this is not going to be a case, really, Cam, in terms of an overtake where we are going to see this be a slow, long, laborious look for an overtake, which is torturous to the eyes. This is going to be done in one very quick, very swift samurai sword blow around the back of the head, which is going to really hurt Chris Owen and pretty much put him out of his misery very, very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the pace that Mills has been catching Owen at. It's just ridiculous how quick it is. 25.5 last time by for Mills, while it's a 26.3 for Owen that last time by. So there's a massive pace differential, and Owen's going to have no chance of trying to defend here.
Battle on for 13th place. In the meantime, here comes Alex O'Huia, looking to make a move down the inside of Andreas Nielsen at Parabolica Corner, and he has got the move done, and Nielsen gets a big slide. He saves it through Parabolica, but look at how much time it has cost. It has cost a whole multitude of time there, and all of a sudden, he will now resign his fate to 14th place at the moment in this race. No ifs, no buts, and no ands about it at the moment. In terms of the two Sanfilippo brothers, that gap stays at around 6.7 seconds. Out on the road, they are matching each other lap for lap. Ben Fuller has 13 seconds of a margin at the moment, and there are 5 laps to go here at Monza when Ben Fuller crosses the line.
And Fuller's done a fantastic job all race long and commanding victories since that incident at the start, involving pretty much nearly half the field, and also Marco Sanfilippo and Chris Owens. So he's just done everything right, done no mistakes has been for, and he's going to be able to take this one very easily at this rate.
David Cudmore will now lose the position. He gives it up to Alex O'Huia here into Ascari. So there's another place for Alex, who is going to move up. Car number 18 in this event from Club Iberia Division 2 driver, as he looks to try and push on forward and make his progress up in through this field. He will run out of positions to chase down because Rusty Kruger is too far back. Owen versus Mills, the gap came down under 3 seconds this time moving forward. If we can get the gap up on screen between those two, that would be absolutely smashing at this point in time. And you can see it right now on your screen, down to just 2.6 seconds there, down at the bottom between Chris Owen and Jody Mills.
Yeah, that gap is decreasing and decreasing at a rapid rate of knots between Mills and Owen. Chris Owen, 26.57 last time by, 25.168 for Jody Mills. So there is a massive pace differential, over a second between the two of them, and Mills just consistently putting down the qualifying laps to try and close it. A little bit of a wiggle there on the exit from pushing so hard, but nevertheless that gap is going to come down very quickly, and that pass is going to happen sooner rather than later.
Well, this is the thing as well. Una Hyla is closing in at a rate of knots of 1.5 seconds each lap, and he finds himself 7 seconds adrift of Chris Owen. 1.5 seconds, times it by 5. That's 7.5 seconds. He should get there, but he is relying on Jody Mills maybe having life tough with Chris Owen. Maybe a Chris Owen who defends into a couple of corners. Try and deal with this battle going on. All other battles out on the track are pretty much done and dusted. They're sorted at this moment in time. The only one that isn't is this one that we're seeing right now. Jody Mills absolutely breezing through corners.
Yeah, he certainly is, just breezing through corners. Very light car, so was able to put the power down very early with new tyres as well. So we'll see how quickly this gap comes on down. Halo dropped off the back of them a little bit there thanks to a mistake at Parabolica 1, but Mills continuing to press on, and it's just continuing to shrink that gap at the moment. 26.0 to 26.4, so 4 tenths that last time by. Owen holding his own a little bit here, but nevertheless,
I think they've hit the cliff on the tyres, because look, they were closing down a second. Maybe both drivers, Hyler and Mills, have just hit the cliff of what the tyre can give them.
Yeah, it is very possible that they have hit that cliff, and it's just starting to drop off the tyres a little bit too much to try and get them somewhere. But nevertheless, we'll see what the lap time is this time by when they cross the line, and whether it is actually starting to drop off quite severely or not. Mills really pushing out and having a little bit of wheel spin on the exit of the Della Roggia chicane, but nevertheless still pressing on.
You can see the carrot dangling in front of him right now at this point in time. Danilo Sanfilippo goes purple on a 124 flat, so they've clearly got tyres at the front of the field, but the gap now down 1.5 seconds here in this one, and it closes even more for Jody Mills. Every single sector, every single corner, there's a little bit that's being chipped off the marble block at this point, with hammer and chisel at this point trying to get a way back to 7th. And Chris Owen knows that every point now matters here. They've got 3 laps to hold on, 3 laps to go and make a move, and that gap will suddenly shrink massively when that slipstream becomes so imperative.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 tenths taken out of Chris Owen just in the one corner alone through Parabolica, and Mills was able to break so much later than Chris Owen as well. You can just see the difference from between the two of them. So there's clearly still plenty of pace left in those tyres for Mills. 25.4 to 26.4, a whole second quicker for Mills, and that gap is just continuing to close down. Late on the brakes for Mills, pushing it hard and having to really wrestle the car.
Here's the other issue, though. The issue is 1 minute 7 seconds. That's the gap between Chris Owen in 7th and Ben Fuller, who leads. And remember, a lap around here is 1 minute 24 at the moment from the race leader. So Chris Owen is finding himself almost being lapped here in this race, and that is going to be the sourest taste in his mouth as he heads himself through the left-right chicane one more time. Cam, Jody Mills is in position. He's got 2 full laps now to size up the move.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's well within draft range. Half a second is the gap, and it's going to start to really close down in these last few laps, and is going to end up being in his favour for Mills, as now it's going to be right tucked up in the draft as they head out of the Parabolica down the front straight.
Here it comes. The move is being lined up. Chris Owen's got nothing. He's a sitting duck on the water. And just like that, Jody Mills will move up into 7th position. And Chris Owen in 8th knows that for today's racing, he knows that he has blown a massive opportunity with no real drop rounds remaining to gain major points on his rivals, the 2 Sanfilippo brothers and Mark Usher. He'll try and come back here at the Della Roggia, but he is out of tyre life. Mills runs wide though. He's going to get it straight back again. So Jody Mills is going to have to do it all over again on their final lap, which at the moment, last lap starts by Ben Fuller, 124.3. His quickest at the moment. The 2 Sanfilippos have been chasing down in vain on low 124s around this place, but they know they haven't had anything really to work with. Once more, Jody Mills closing up towards the Ascari corner and hoping that once more he doesn't get himself the jitters, he doesn't get himself the nerves. He's in a much better position this time than he was last. He now knows what he needs to do. Do it cleanly, no mistakes needed. Pulling out of the toe through towards Parabolica, trying to get things going. But behind that, heading on to the final straight before the final corner, here comes Ben Fuller, who took the lead at the Della Roggia on the opening lap and has not looked back since. Through Parabolica, and what a win for Ben Fuller. He's the third different winner on SimSpeed TV broadcasts, and he stamps his name as an eye to watch out for next season as he wins with a fastest lap on the final lap of the race. It's on side by side though between Owen and Mills still, as Danilo Sanfilippo will get second and Marco will get third, but Jody Mills on the brakes in the Della Roggia. Hold your breath for no mistakes had.
Yeah, Mills has probably got this one under wraps now with that little bit of a gap that he's got back to Chris Owen, who just can't have anything for him, unfortunately. So Mills looking like he's going to have this one wrapped up and delivered to himself for the P7 finish. And Chris Owen, unfortunately, left scratching his head and wondering what could have been, unfortunately.
There's Stefan Piotrowski over the line in fourth place. What a drive on the one-stop strategy here today by him. He absolutely deserved that result by some brilliant tactical nuance there as he goes through. That's Chantal coming home in fifth, and Clayton McLeod on a three-stop strategy today does gain positions. He gains two of them. It's a sixth place finish for him come the end of the race. There's Jody Mills, there's Chris Owen going through, and there's Una Hyla, who will finish the drivers on the leading lap. Classification of results then will be as follows. Ben Fuller has done it in 1 hour and 15 minutes and 51 seconds. The margin of victory, 14.3 come the end over Danilo Sanfilippo, with Marco in third, playing damage limitation with his championship and may even gain a couple of points for his troubles. Stefan Piotrowski will come home fourth, with Stefan Chantal in fifth. In terms of the Battle of the Stefans, it was Piotrowski who won. Clayton McLeod on the three-stop, the Del Orco strategy, gets sixth place up 2 spots, with seventh position going to Jody Mills, getting it done on Chris Owen in 8th. Una Hyla finishes in 9th, and the first of the lap-down drivers, Jacob Swiderski, finishes it off in 10th.
And just outside the top 10, Rusty Kruger and Alex Ugia in 11th and 12th, 13th to Andreas Nielsen, 14th to David Cardmore, Ray Griffioen rounding out the top 15, 2 laps down, and then John Pat Kelly in 16th, 17th to Alex Gillen, Jane Thurlow 18th, 19th to Udo Villa, and Bruno Canavas rounding up the top 20, and the rest of the order, DNF, Alvarez, Serpa, Oliveira, Zaragoza, Augusta, and Massa rounding out the field.
It's a shame to see so many retirements in this race, a 26-car field with only 18 finishers here today. That is roughly a quarter of the field that ended up getting chopped up to size and a little bit more as well. But 1 week's time, Interlagos, a circuit which commands respect, is brilliant for battling, especially in these sorts of vehicles, and in the minds of many a fan for the mid to late 2000s into the 2010s, was the final round of the championship, which actually really did help the allure and prestige of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Just how important is a circuit like Interlagos for racing? Because it is one of the few tracks, I think, in the world which naturally offers amazing racing.
Yeah, it's a really, really good circuit and puts on some really good racing. I mean, I've surprisingly made the top 10 highlights on iRacing by doing a pretty good battle at Interlagos in the Formula 3 car, as Reese and David Haynes will happily agree with, but nevertheless, looking forward to it in these Formula 1 cars and these FW31, so we'll see what happens and who will come out on top.
And the only place you can catch that is on SimSpeed TV. If you have not already, like, share, subscribe, as we look to try and boost our platform here on YouTube and on Facebook Live as well. But a massive thanks to those who have got it done for us, to Motum Simulations, who have been sponsoring the replays for us, and of course Jay Kennedy, who has been on the cameras. To my left-hand side has been Mr. Cameron Dance, and I, of course, have been Jake Sperry. Ben Fuller, though, puts himself on the top of the podium. He is top of the pops, and he knows that he needed everything that he needed to get that victory. He drove a fantastic race here today, but the championship seems a little stagnant. Marco Sanfilippo behind Brother Danilo, who again can't find a race victory. Interlagos, though, that may be a different point of contention. We'll see who finds themselves in the right position at the right time when they head to the bowl that is Interlagos. We'll see you in a week's time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God!